Hey YouTube, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by the Black Rock and Mohawk Railroad, and we're going to talk about making it easier to do wiring. This comes about because there's a lot of guys like me coming back into the hobby when they retire, or older, and I got arthritis like everywhere, and bad knees, bad back. The idea of crawling around underneath of a layout does not thrill me. Let's just say it like that. So we're going to talk about what you can do to make it easier and neater with your wiring by using some brackets. And I'll show you what I mean. So this table is 10 feet long. There we go. 10 feet long by 30 inches deep. Now I do not recommend 30 inches. It's a long stretch to the back of this table. And that's where all the track's at. But I got these brackets from Lowe's. These were like $13 a piece. They're 19.5 inches long. And I've got some short ones. And there's one back there that's gray that's like 15 inches long. If I put a 19 and a 19, they were going to hit each other. I'm going to put another one on the back wall. So all three of these are screwed into the studs in the wall. Very sturdy. I mean, very sturdy. Now, I mean, there is some things that, you've got to line it up with some of these cross members and things. And for me, I have to pull this out away from the back wall, in part because the backdrop curves around and that goes back into the corner. So I have to pull it out and then out this way and then flip it up. But I just keep it like this for now. And then when I'm done, I'll push it back against that wall, screw it down, be great. And in that case, I had to think through, okay, where the brackets are going to be when the table is actually mounted versus what is it going to be while I have it flipped up in this position. So that bracket and the bracket back there supports everything. This one right here just has just that sidewall. So, it works though, and it works great. And with it like this, you can sit down and do all this wiring. This is going to go to the power system. It's going to be on this top of this. As you're looking at it this way, it's going to be mounted at the top. So power will come in here. There's red and black. Then wires come out of here that feed these two here. And then eventually the wiring will continue on along that way and continue on around this way. Makes it real simple, nice and clean. The wires that Walthers gives you is long. And so, you find ways to just put it together. But one thing, I'll give you a little hack here and I'll show you the pictures. So I drilled all the holes for the feeder lines, for the switch machines, for the little pin, and for the frogs. So I can hook those up and energize the frogs with the switch machines. So if you just flip this thing up, you're going to be dazed and confused by the number of holes that are in here. And so what I did is I took some skewers and I color coded them, like the very tip of them, and I stuck them in from up top, and they came out this way. And you see in that picture from up top what that looks like. And you'll see the skewers that are laying there. The blue ones are for the switch machines because switch machines are blue. The red and the black ones are the two feeder lines, red and black. And this way you can make sure that, for example, in my case, I'm doing it so that the track that's along the back there, the red is in the closest rail, black is on the farthest rail, and it goes through the whole thing. And it can get really confusing. So when you've got these little skewers sticking through there, you can say, okay, that's a switch machine. Got it. I did a video about the switch machines, about how to make sure you put them in correctly. And if you don't, sometimes you have to flip them around 180 degrees before you mount them, because it's going to affect like the lights on the board. Green normally means going straight, and yellow means that you're turning off on the turnout. And those will be out wrong. And there are other ways to do it, but if you just install them correctly, it's awesome. So it was just a good way. And the green ones were for the frog, green frog, right? So it was easy for me to remember all that. Blue, these are blue, frogs are green, red and black are the wiring. So it made it easier for me to figure out what these holes were for. These two, for example, these yellow wires are for two frogs up there. I still got some other ones I got to solder on, which is not my favorite thing to do. But this makes it so much easier to do wiring. Rather than crawling around on the floor, you set it up, boom, it's done. Now, if you can't attach it to a wall, I would build the tabletop just like this. Don't put any legs on it. Get some sawhorses, set it down on there, and be able to flip it up that way on the sawhorses. You may want to have to mount some wider boards on the top. It's easy to do. And I will have that same problem when I do the table that is by this wall. This room is 12 by 9, roughly. And the door is there, and there's a storage closet there that I have to get into without having to go through the layout. I've got an eBay store called B&M Trains and Collectibles, and all the inventory is in there. And just about every day I have to go in there to get stuff out to send it to somebody. So these are going to be 10 feet. The layout's going to be 10 feet by 9 feet. And this is 30 inches, but the rest of them will not be 30 inches because I learned my lesson. And that's another thing too, is you don't want to get ahead of yourself. And I want to get this done as fast as possible too. But there's things you got to take into consideration. You can't build all the tables at once and hook them all together and be able to do this. Obviously that's not going to work. So I'm going to build this table. This week I'm finishing the track, getting everything done up top electrically, and run trains and make sure that everything is flawless with the switch machines, with the wiring. Once I'm 100% sure that everything down here is good, I'm going to be building a mountain on the back, on this end of this table, and it's in the corner. And if I have a table built next to it, I can't get there. So you got to think it through that, okay, I can't do the scenery if all this other stuff is in my way. So think it through. You have this access, but you will eventually have this screwed down and tables attached to it, and you won't be able to do that anymore. Now, at the height that I have it, like I said, 38 inches, I can actually get into this chair. And this chair is like, I think it's called a drafting chair. It's for people to do drafting and stuff, and architects. And this is as low as it goes. And it goes higher, which is nice because that's what I want. I want to be able to see the whole layout. But this is just a regular old desk chair. And I put it all the way down, and I can actually get pretty much. I might take this off because that's just stopped me from getting all the way underneath of there, but if there was something that I needed to just do minor, I could do it without having to crawl around on the floor. Too old for that. It's just way too old. This is 38 inches. Excuse me, 38 and a half to right here. Then there's 3.5 inches of the frame, 1.5 inches of foam, which I wish I would have bought 1 inch, but I didn't. That's why I had to extend the pins on the switch machines. And you got 1/4 inch of masonite there, so it's about 44. It's 43 and 3/4 inches to the very, very top. And for me, that's perfect. I'm 5'10". It's at a good height. It's not up here at eye level, but it's close enough, especially if I'm sitting in a chair. It'll work out great. But give yourself some room, because I'm probably only going to have on this table 2 legs. One on the very end there, on the corner on the outside, and then back here where another table is going to come up to this one, and I've already got a leg that's got like a U-shaped bracket on the top of it, and it'll hold those 2 pieces together and support both of them at the same time. So it's the amount of space you're going to have underneath here. I have rolling carts that have different things on them. Like one's a scenery cart, one's a track cart, one's a painting cart. Just different things. Plus, I've got the trains, right? And there's the thing sitting next to me right here, which has got little drawers in it, and the trains are inside the drawers. So it'll just be sitting underneath there, easy peasy. And I just want to be comfortable when this is all said and done and know everything's done right. Let me just check my notes ahead here real quick. Yep, talk about the sawhorses, right? The table. If you can't do that, use the sawhorses. It'll work out fine. You can still turn it up. When you're all said and done, you feel good about it, then put the legs on it, make it into a regular table. Be just as easy. But crawling around on the floor isn't fun for nobody. And wiring, for me, if I had to crawl around underneath here, it would never look this nice. And some of you are saying, well, it doesn't look all that good. For me, it's good. It's nice. So just think things through ahead of what has to be done, and allowing yourself the room to do it, and then go on to the next table, get that done, go on to the next table, however you're doing your layout. Like I said, this one's going to go all the way around, but you got to do the scenery, you got to lay track well, you got to have electrical, hookups for everything. So just think it through. If you make a mistake, join the crowd. I made a bunch. For example, the very first video I did in the channel, I had glued the foam down, and I saw guys use liquid nails for projects, gluing foam down. So that's what I did. And thank goodness this didn't show up a month or 2 or 3 from now. But I was putting this up and down, and all of a sudden I heard, it sounded like it was flapping. And it turns out the whole foam board wasn't glued to the top anymore. Now, I was not happy, but it's a hobby. It should be fun. So immediately I, made sure I got the foam up, laid the table down, pulled the foam up. I put down, what is that, sticky glue and a silicone adhesive. I did both because I wasn't taking another chance. And I put a bunch of weight on it to keep it weighed down. So far, so good, but I think that's going to solve it. But don't use liquid nails to put the foam down, at least not the project version, because that just glued like, it was like ceramic almost, sticking onto the masonite, but to the foam board didn't stick to anything, it turns out. So I learned that in time, so that my biggest worry was I had drilled these holes out and I had to, I had to reline the board up and everything. And it turns out I got them right. Didn't have to re-drill the holes. That was a huge blessing. I was just like, ugh, I didn't want to go through that again. So you can't believe everything you hear on YouTube. And maybe a month from now, I'll be telling you don't use sticky glue and silicone adhesive. But hopefully that's going to stick. And if it does come up again, I will let you know. But I've rambled on here for a while. Thank you for stopping by the channel. Please give us a like, subscribe. We're here to help people come back into the hobby, new people coming into the hobby. There's just so much information out there. I just think this is just too simple to not make sure people know about it. So have a great day, and we'll see you next time.